Hello and welcome! This video will give you tips on how to have a successful campaign in XCOM2, as well as my thoughts on various class abilities and strategies. Items, class abilities, enemy types, and some research projects may be spoiled, but I won't spoil any of the major plot elements of the game. Let me just start out with a very basic notice for everyone. Don't play Iron Man. I can't tell you the number of times I have been unable to load a save file, or upon loading a save file, could not interact with my squad in the middle of a mission. The game is a little bit buggy right now, and in my opinion having backup saves is critical to your sanity, and possibly to your entire campaign. Save regularly, at least before and after every mission. Additionally, while there are unequip all items and unequip all armor buttons in the squad loadout screen, there's currently no way to unequip all soldier weapons. So before every mission, go to your armory, cycle through any soldiers who will not be going out on the mission, and de-equip their weapon if it has weapon upgrades on it. This way the weapon can be given to another soldier instead. Some of these weapon upgrades can be quite valuable. They generally come in 3 rarities, for example offering +1, 2, or 3 to your clip size. I would save the superior versions for plasma weapons later in the game, but the basic and advanced varieties make good candidates for your standard weaponry and your magnetic weaponry respectively. Try and match upgrades to a class that would make the most use of them. Free reloads or expanded magazines on sniper rifles can be very handy, as a dedicated sniper can't reload as their first action and shoot the rifle with their second action. Similarly for grenadiers, since their heavy weapons only have 3 rounds, and many grenadier abilities use more than 1 round per skill use. If you have an auto reloader on a weapon, during your mission you should keep it in mind, and not reload if you don't have to. Unless you're using an ammo-intensive skill, empty out the weapon before reloading, so that in case you do run into a bad situation, you have as much ammo as you can. Just mouse over the icon in the action bar. If it says free reload, then you still have a free reload remaining. If it says reload, then they're all gone. Repeaters are useful on any class build that ends up shooting frequently. Specialists come to mind since they have access to the Guardian perk, which allows for multiple overwatches in a single turn, and snipers come to mind with their powerful Killzone ability. A repeater and expanded magazine on a high-level sniper can work wonders. Stocks are useful to have for anyone if you can't think of anything better for them, but do note that the damage caused by a stock does not trigger the repeater instant kill effect, nor does it cause shredding to be applied to a target if used on a grenadier. Stocks also do not activate on area of effect abilities such as Killzone. They also don't apply poison, even if you're carrying that ability. Weapon upgrades also do not affect the pistol on the gunslinger sniper. Upgrades only affect their sniper rifles when used. There are many items that are crazy useful for you to have and use in your campaign. Unfortunately, most of them are locked behind a ton of research and proving ground projects. At the start of your campaign, you will really only have access to flashbangs, smoke grenades, and frag grenades. Smoke grenades can be useful if you have a unit out of position, but you need to be very careful with your use of them. If you can get more than one unit in cover with a smoke, the enemy can hit both your units with a grenade of their own, which they are very likely to do. More enemies have area of effect attacks in XCOM2 than an enemy within, and many times enemy area of effect or psionic attacks are worse than them just taking a normal shot. The flashbang may just be the inverse of the smoke grenade. It disorients targets in a wide area, and any disoriented target suffers from 1. Very low mobility, 2. Slightly worse aim, and 3. The complete inability to use special abilities. This makes flashbangs a wonderful counter to annoying units such as the Stun Lancer and the Sectoid. A Stun Lancer with low mobility won't be able to charge you for an attack if you keep your distance, so he will instead take a shot at you. A Sectoid that is disoriented can't perform any psionic attacks, and will instead either overwatch or take a shot. Flashbangs also completely remove any Sectoid panic, disorientation, mind control, or reanimation. A particularly useful strategy is to let a Sectoid live after killing his Advent guards. Wait for him to reanimate one of their corpses, then flashbang the Sectoid to destroy the corpse and waste his turn. And of course, any explosive is perfect for destroying cover and shredding the armor of heavier units. Always have a few grenades on your squad at all times, so that you have plenty of cover destroying opportunities, and plenty of punch to weaken an otherwise heavy mechanized unit that may surprise you. Don't feel bad about using a grenade to guarantee a kill on an enemy, especially early in the campaign. Any single one of your squad members can die to a single lucky shot, even if it doesn't critically hit. If you have to guarantee a kill, then do so. If you can break cover or weaken another enemy at the same time, even better. As for other items that you will unlock in your campaign, give the medkits first to your medical specialist class, then to anyone else who has the room. That gremlin can heal twice in one turn if your specialist doesn't move. Battle scanners can be very handy for scouting, which is damned important in these fast-paced, timed missions of XCOM2. You can throw 2 battle scanners in one turn if you are so minded, and all classes can throw the scanners at extreme ranges, so there's no need to worry about using the Grenadier's launcher with them. I tend to give battle scanners to either snipers or rangers, depending on the circumstances. Armored vests are good if you have nothing else to bring, or if you are purposefully building a tank, but otherwise I would rather have more usable items on a mission so I have more tactical options available to me. When you get a Skulljack, upgrade it in the Proving Grounds to have the Skull Mine ability and give it to your Combat Specialist or Medical Specialist. It gives them a bonus 20 points to hacking, and of course, gives them the ability to hack Advent troopers, possibly earning you bonus intelligence. Eventually, you will unlock alternative explosive grenades. Some destroy cover, some do not. Some are ridiculously good against organic units, nearly wiping out entire pods in a single volley. A good way to experiment is just to bring along a bunch of grenadiers and see how the different grenades affect the enemies. But the absolute best support grenade item in the game by far is the lovely little Mimic Beacon. This device is capable of essentially allowing you to skip the enemy's turn during the mission. That is because while this beacon is active, nearly any enemy alive will ignore you entirely and focus 100% of their attention on attacking the beacon itself. This includes trying to flank it while leaving themselves exposed to you. Just place the beacon behind cover and watch as Advent and aliens alike are drawn to it like a moth to the flame. It does have HP, however, so if they manage to destroy the beacon, they will turn their attention back onto you. These beacons can be your savior when you are in a bad situation, or can help you skulljack a single lone Advent trooper that you want to keep alive for one more turn. While technically not items, the exosuit armors function similarly. They are prepared in the Proving Grounds and are just straight upgrades to your normal armor. They feature additional points of armor protection and a powerful arm-mounted heavy weapons system, or a grappling hook. Even just the standard rocket launcher attachment is incredibly powerful, dealing twice the damage of a grenade and at a further range, and the upgraded weapon systems only get better from there. You are not likely going to give every member of your squad a special armor suit, but you should definitely make at least one and bring it with you on every mission. Grenadiers make a good choice for wearing it, as the armor bonus will stack with the Grenadier's perk, Blast Padding. They can act as tanks for your other troopers, and in a pinch you can leave them out of cover to try to soak up a few enemy shots. You can also give it to just about any trooper to give them an offensive explosive punch whenever you need it. All these awesome items and enhanced power armors all come from the Proving Grounds, but when and where should you build it in the Avenger? First things first, as soon as you can in your campaign, start digging out the empty facility rooms in your ship. You're going to need more engineers on staff before you can do too much at once, but just do what you can. Build an Advanced Warfare School and the Guerrilla Tactics School ASAP. The Advanced Warfare School allows you to speed up soldier healing, respec a soldier's skills, and also gives all soldier promotions a chance to unlock a bonus ability upon level up. For example, in my first campaign, one of my specialists received as a bonus skill Killzone, which is normally a sniper exclusive perk. This specialist, as a result, immediately became my #1 trooper. A Grenadier later received Lightning Reflexes, which doesn't even appear on any class skill trees, but is amazing to receive all the same. Troopers who receive these awesome bonus perks are your new A-team, even if they are of a lower skill than your other units. The Guerrilla Tactics School allows you to, most importantly of all, increase your squad size to 5 and later to 6. You can also unlock various other general abilities, including class-based bonuses, such as all specialists having better overwatches. This building is perhaps the single most important thing you can construct in your campaign, if only for the squad size increases. But it also lets you level up rookies without needing them to go on missions first, and choose their class. Power is low on the Avenger, so you're going to need to construct a power facility early on in order to have enough for all the constructions. Don't overdo power though. A single facility can be staffed with an engineer for +5 power, can be upgraded to provide +2 more power, and can be staffed again to provide another +5 power, for a total of 15 power provided by a single facility. This should be more than enough for the early constructions. And don't worry too much about trying to build a power facility in one of the bottom 2 corners of the Avenger. These locations provide one of 2 bonuses, either +10 power to a power facility, or a facility constructed there uses no power. Either is good, so don't worry too much about this. Resistance comms are also quite important, as without a comms facility you will be limited to only having 3 region contacts, which is nowhere near enough to facilitate travel to the Avatar facilities on the Geoscape. Fortunately, a single comms facility should be enough for your entire campaign, as it can be upgraded and staffed to give you massive contact boosts. Laboratories improve your research speed. If your first few missions provide you with only engineers and no scientists, you might want to consider constructing this building to help turn the research speed back in your favor. Workshops are very interesting. Engineers can normally staff most facilities to improve them. More power, faster healing, reduced proving grounds, research times, etc. But if you staff an engineer in a workshop, then that workshop can provide up to 2 staffing gremlins for adjacent facilities. Put a workshop between a power relay and comms facility, and 2 engineers can provide 4 engineers worth of bonuses to these buildings. It's almost always worth it to get everything staffed, so building a workshop early-ish and in a prime location is smart. But don't worry too much about placing the workshop in the very middle of your base. Technically you can put it in a corner and it would still have 100% efficiency as long as it was adjacent to 2 rooms that can each be staffed twice, namely the power and comms rooms. Finally of note, the Proving Ground and Shadow Chamber initially act as anti-Avatar facilities. They both allow you to research plot-based projects that provide missions to reduce the Avatar project's progress. So if you're running up against the wall with Avatar, get the Skulljack quest done and get the Shadow Chamber research going. So with all of these facilities, what do? Guerrilla Tactics schools first for the squad size increase. Advanced Warfare school second, power facility and resistance comms for the required power and contacts necessary to not lose to Avatar. Probably a workshop next for the staffing bonuses to those facilities. Then Proving Grounds for the great research projects. Adjust as you need, such as skipping the workshop for a laboratory if you have a ton of engineers on staff. One final thing to note, it is almost always better to double down engineers on a single task rather than spread them out. Don't try and excavate 3 places at once. Double down on excavating 1 location at a time so you can get something constructed there sooner. It takes the same amount of time to excavate 3 locations one at a time as it does to excavate them all at the same time. You don't need to use engineers to speed up construction times, but it can be helpful, especially if you are not in any rush to do excavating. Though using your first engineer to get the Guerrilla Tactics school up and running ASAP is not the worst decision in the world. Don't worry too much about too many of the research projects early on. Autopsies are generally not necessary to rush out, though you should do Viper and Faceless as soon as you can. Some of the early Advent autopsies are plot related though, so you will need to have to do at least a few. It will take some time until you have enough materials to perform some of even the most basic research projects, so just do what you can. I would very much recommend getting the armor research project completed as soon as possible, even before the weapons research if you can do so. The advanced armor gives your soldiers +4 HP, which is tremendously important for keeping your troopers alive. Potentially more importantly, however, is that the advanced armor gives all of your soldiers another item slot, so you can take more grenades, armor plating, battle scanners, what have you. Performing the first level of weapons research only unlocks the rifle, shotgun, and pistol, while the sniper and cannon require a second research project to be completed before they can be manufactured. Not only that, but each of those 5 weapons have to be paid for separately. But if you purchase the armor upgrade once, everyone can benefit from it. And yeah, you'll be doing less damage with your primary weapons, but since you get to carry more grenades, you will have an easier time destroying cover for enemies, shredding armor, and being more tactical with your support item options. Specialists are some of my favorite troopers. Having 2 on a mission is not a bad thing, as one can be the healer and take on a support role, while the other can be the hacker, hold onto the Skulljack, and do a real number on robotic enemies. Their ability path is pretty straightforward. Take all the medical skills on one and the combat skills on the other, and bring them both in on missions once you have 5 and 6 squad sizes. Combat Protocol is handy to have, as the 2 damage is guaranteed to land and bypass all armor on the target. This can be upgraded to 4 damage later in the campaign through research. Haywire Protocol lets you hack enemy robotic units. With a Skulljack and good tech level, you can have a good 75 to 80% chance to disable enemy mechs for 2 turns, and better than even odds of disabling even a sectopod. It's also quite fun to hijack enemy turrets, turning them on your enemies. You can hijack any robotic unit in range of any of your soldiers, so if you have a concealed ranger scouting ahead, you can attempt to hijack a turret without revealing yourself, and if it fails, just kill it with a sniper so you don't have to deal with its increased capabilities due to the hacking failure. Revival Protocol is useful for removing panic, giving you full control of your unit with full actions available to them. It's also a potential lifesaver in allowing you to revive unconscious soldiers who may have been taken out thanks to a stun lancer. Otherwise, you have to carry your soldier to the evac point on a mission. The captain level choice between covering fire and threat assessment is a bit of a tough call and doesn't really fit in with the medic versus combat path. Covering fire just makes the overwatches on this specialist slightly better, while threat assessment gives you a bit more aggressive potential by allowing aid protocol to give an automatic overwatch to the aided unit. It should be noted that aid protocol does not end a turn if used as the first action. You can also use your gremlin to heal or hack without affecting aid protocol. And aid protocol with threat assessment does not force a soldier into overwatch, ruining their turn. It just gives them a bonus overwatch during the alien activity. They can still move around and attack, and even enter overwatch for double overwatch. This can be used wonderfully in a variety of situations. Aid a tanky grenadier in the open to take some aggro when you need it. Aid a flanked unit to keep them alive a little longer, and possibly kill a troublesome enemy that has you flanked in the first place. Have the specialist aid themselves, then take a shot to get a bonus overwatch on alien activity. Threat assessment turns aid protocol into an ability that you should consider using every turn, not just in emergencies. One extra shot from an overwatch could be all you need, and if you use it on someone with a stock, it's guaranteed damage during that overwatch too. It should also be noted though that this gives snipers a pistol overwatch as far as I can tell. Covering fire does have its advantages though, namely that it's a passive ability and it continues to allow you to use aid protocol once a turn instead of once every other turn. Ever Vigilant gives you a free overwatch if you use your 2 actions on moves. Guardian on the other hand gives every overwatch hit a 50% chance to trigger another overwatch shot. This can be an extremely powerful ability. Upon breaking open a new pod, an overwatch specialist can wreak havoc on the enemies. It's not terribly uncommon to have Guardian trigger multiple times in a row, either killing or severely weakening enemies. My favorite instance of this skill was when a Guardian specialist scored 4 hits on a sectopod in a single turn. So, more than at any other point in the specialist tree, Captain and Major ranks play off of one another, depending on your playstyle. But one powerful combination is Threat Assessment and Guardian. A specialist can use Aid Protocol on himself, using his first action, then go into Overwatch with his second action, for 2 total Overwatches. One Overwatch will be normal, but the other will be covering fire, allowing it to trigger when an enemy attacks. Both Overwatches would have Guardian, giving each a 50% chance to trigger again if they hit. Stack expanded magazines and aim bonuses on such a specialist, and they would turn into a solo wrecking crew, even in the middle of a firefight. Expanded magazines can give a specialist up to 7 Overwatch shots, and they can repeat this every other turn. Restoration versus capacitor discharge is just a matter of medical specialist versus combat specialist. Both are great skills to have, either massively fixing a botched situation, or doing great AoE damage to groups of enemies, or doing tremendous damage to robotic ones. Rangers make excellent scouts, and are the only XCOM operative with melee attacks. Their 2 ability trees focus on one or the other, turning the Ranger into a stealthy scout or a veritable ninja. A couple of quick points to make regarding Sword Rangers though. First, sword attacks rarely get 100% chance to hit. If you have the opportunity to choose between a shotgun and sword attack, pick the one most likely to kill. Second, if you mouse over the edges of the square tile underneath where an enemy is standing, you can choose which square to stand in while you do the sword attack. For example, you can run in behind an enemy, stand in full cover, and do your sword attack from behind instead of being left out standing in the open. If you just use the action bar hotkey to do the sword attack, you may find yourself in a bad position. Phantom on a ranger makes them stay concealed when the rest of your squad gets revealed. This can be great in allowing you to use your ranger to continue to scout ahead of the rest of the squad in a mission, so that you don't get surprised later on and can make faster progress towards a timed objective. You also get free concealment on the start of missions that you don't normally have concealment on, such as retaliation missions. Having a ranger with concealment for those missions can be wonderful, as you can use your ranger to move aggressively ahead and save civilians. Just toss a couple battle scanners around, send in your ranger, and get some quick civilians saved. You can also use snipers to shoot at enemies in the ranger's line of sight. This is wonderful for taking down turrets risk-free when you have time to spare. A sniper with long watch or Killzone can also be used in this manner to forcibly pop an enemy pod on the enemy's turn instead of during your turn, so that they don't get a free shot during an ambush. And since we are on the topic of Phantom Rangers, it is very important to fully understand a few of the intricacies in ambushing pods in missions where you are concealed. There are basically 3 main ways to go about ambushing a pod. The first is to send everyone into Overwatch except for one unit which takes a shot or throws a grenade. The rest of your squad will trigger their Overwatches without any aim penalties and take their shots. If any enemy survives the encounter, however, they will immediately have alien activity and can shoot back at you, potentially from a flanking position because they would effectively have a free move when the pod is initially activated. This can rather easily result in a sticky situation for your squad, especially when you only have 4 or 5 squad members early in the campaign. The second main way to go about ambushing a pod is to just take one shot. The enemy will run into cover, then you can blow them up or flashbang, use mimic beacons, or what have you. You usually have to deal with overcoming the enemy's newly acquired cover, so this is far from an ideal situation and rarely how you will choose to ambush pods. The best way to ambush a pod is to do so on the enemy's turn. This way you get free Overwatch shots, but they don't get a free turn of alien activity if they are left alive. Unfortunately, Overwatches only trigger after you have left concealment, so you can't just Overwatch everyone and expect them to shoot on the enemy's turn. But luckily, there are a couple of ways you can accomplish this. The first is to just position one XCOM soldier out of cover, so that if a pod walks a little bit closer to you during alien activity, they will spot your soldier, you will break concealment, and all of your Overwatches will trigger. One slight problem with this method, however, is that sometimes enemies don't run into cover when they break concealment, particularly when you are being flanked or they are mechs. Rarely, an enemy will take a shot at you instead, which could result in a wound or worse. The second and best way to ambush a pod on their turn is to use an ability to break concealment during alien activity. I only know of one skill that does so reliably, Killzone, a sniper skill. If you activate Killzone on an ambushed pod, then as soon as they start moving during alien activity, your sniper will start shooting at every unit in the pod, and all your remaining Overwatches will trigger. If any enemy remains alive, they will run into cover, and you will get another turn to kill them before they get any actions. This also works more than once in a mission, but only if you have a Phantom Ranger. You can use your sniper's Killzone ability on an unpopped pod that your ranger can see. If it's just out of sight of your other units on Overwatch, this should trigger the enemies to run towards you, into the additional Overwatch fire, and you can spend the next turn dealing with any surviving stragglers. Effectively, this lets you ambush every pod on the mission if you are careful enough. You will find that often your Phantom Ranger is better spent supporting the squad by never shooting and staying in concealment for the entire mission. One final piece of information regarding Phantom Rangers and ambushing pods. Because your ranger stays in concealment when the rest of your squad is revealed, your ranger will not fire their weapon during an Overwatch unless they are spotted while flanked. As such, consider that if you want your ranger to shoot during an ambush, you should either start the ambush with a shot from your ranger, or just accept that your ranger won't be participating in the ambush. So, much to consider with Phantom, but what about Blade Master? It's just a straight +2 damage on sword attacks. If you use the sword a lot, this can be big, as it helps prevent enemies from surviving an attack if they have armor, or if they dodge the attack. At the Sergeant level, Shadow Strike gives you bonus aim and critical chance when you attack when concealed, useful to help guarantee a kill out of concealment. Shadow Step lets you ignore all enemy overwatches. There is no lightning reflexes on any class skill tree, so this is the best second choice, as it lets you potentially position your ranger so they can disrupt the enemy overwatches with a well-placed shot or grenade. If you're going down the sword path, Shadow Step is the obvious choice, but if you're going down the scouting path, either choice could be beneficial to you. Conceal and Run and Gun. Both great abilities. Conceal lets your ranger re-enter concealment after they have left it, almost a must-have on a scouty, sneaky ranger. Run and Gun is good too though, allowing you to use your shotgun or grenade after dashing. On a sword ranger, dashing to attack is usually done with a sword, but you rarely get a 100% chance to hit with a sword. A shotgun is more likely to kill in a situation where you need a kill. Honestly, either path could use either skill. This is more decided by your playstyle than by a particular skill's synergy within the class itself. You don't need Conceal if you keep your Scout Ranger hidden all the time, but Run and Gun goes against the principle of staying concealed to begin with. But it does offer another offensive ability that you can use if you run into a bad situation and really need it. A Sword Ranger will likely be using their sword attacks after a dash, but Run and Gun means they can still do other actions instead, but a bonus Conceal could be useful for situations where you need your Ranger to scout. Implacable and Bladestorm are pretty much for Scout and Sword Rangers respectively. A Sword Ranger with Bladestorm is great for dealing with melee enemy units, of which there are plenty in XCOM2. And Implacable is great for a Scout Ranger, as it lets you run in close to an enemy for a guaranteed shotgun kill and have a bonus action for running back into cover. Deep Cover and Untouchable are some of the most lopsided skills in the game. Deep Cover is pretty much garbage in my opinion, and Untouchable is incredibly powerful. Untouchable means that when your ranger gets a kill on your turn, on the enemy's turn the next attack is guaranteed to miss that ranger. A Sword Ranger who runs in deep to take out an enemy has greater survivability, even if they are left exposed or flanked. And a Scout Ranger with Implacable can run in to flank an enemy, get a kill with a shotgun, get a free move, run to another location, and be missed by the next enemy attack. This is actually very strong if you abuse this invincibility to protect weaker squad members from an attack. By getting a kill and gaining one attack's worth of invincibility, you could position your ranger purposefully where they will be attacked, but that attack will guaranteed miss. Useful to protect an exposed flanked squad member, or when you just can't kill that one remaining enemy. Rapid Fire vs Reaper is really just a no-brainer choice, only because by this point your Sword Ranger synergizes with Reaper while your Scout Ranger doesn't. I tend to use Rangers primarily for scouting, as until you get the Reaper skill, a Sword Ranger will almost never have a 100% chance to hit with the sword all the time, while a shotgun at point blank range is almost always 100%. Sharpshooters can function as either dedicated snipers, using their sniper rifles to great effect, or gunslingers, able to fire multiple times in a turn with their pistol, and use their sniper rifle on occasion when needed. This is one of the few classes that may have a perfectly laid out skill path that does not need any modifications during promotions. The sniper path is awesome. Long Watch allows for squad sight overwatches and pairs excellently with a Scout Ranger to break open pods during alien activity. Death from Above allows you to get a kill with your sniper and use your bonus action to reload or move. This also has a side benefit in allowing you to avoid using auto reloaders on a sniper rifle. Expanded magazines and aim bonuses work well with the sniper's skills. Killzone is remarkably powerful, granting reaction shots against many enemies at once, and is very useful for breaking open pods that a Scout Ranger can see. Serial is just like Enemy Within's in the Zone ability, potentially allowing you to get multiple kills in a single turn. The Gunslinger path is equally awesome. Instead of one shot per turn like the sniper, a gunslinger uses their pistol multiple times per turn. Return Fire shoots back at an enemy. Lightning Hands is just a free, actionless pistol shot. Quick Draw lets you shoot your pistol as your first action without ending your turn. Face Off fires your pistol once at every enemy in sight of the gunslinger. Fanfire shoots 3 times at a single enemy. All of these skills allow the gunslinger to put out a large amount of damage, but in a very controlled fashion. Great for landing killing blows on multiple enemies at low health, or for putting a lot of damage into a single target. The skill choice at Major is the biggest toss-up. Either you can gain aim and critical chance when you don't move, or you can get aim bonuses after you hunker down. Since gunslingers don't use their sniper rifles as often as dedicated snipers, weapon upgrades are less effective on them. You probably shouldn't waste expanded magazines or autoloaders on them, since they are quite effective with their pistols when out of ammo with their rifles. Since gunslingers use their pistols more often than not, they have a hard time doing reliable damage to heavily armored targets. You should shred armor with another unit where possible, and get the pistol upgraded to the magnetic and plasma varieties. There is a really good synergy with the Grenadier's Rupture skill. Rupture makes every single hit on an enemy do +3 damage, which combined with the gunslinger's ability to fire the pistol up to 5 times at an enemy in a single turn, allows a gunslinger to kill just about anything on their own, potentially even a sectopod. Snipers are great for assaults on Avatar facilities, as they have no time limit and you can use your squad sight abilities to maximum effectiveness. Gunslingers are better for missions in which you need to move quickly, like VIP extractions or retaliations. The Grenadier is the most difficult class to figure out. There are so many independent skills that don't have intra-class synergies that you can really just mix and match to make the Grenadier that fits your squad and playstyle the best. Blast padding is a good skill that, most importantly of all, gives your Grenadier 1 bonus point of armor, allowing them to function as the tank of the team. Combined with the additional armor bonuses from the Warsuit and Experimental Armor, you can get up to 4 total armor points on a Grenadier. This makes them perfect for staying in half cover, or when a situation is really dire, run out of cover to encourage the enemy to shoot the Grenadier instead of a more squishy soldier. Shredder is great for removing armor from tough opponents, doing 1 to 3 points of shred damage depending on the weapon used. It can combine with Hail of Bullets to hit with 100% accuracy, and with Rupture to provide insane damage potential on a single, extremely tough enemy. But even through the middle of your campaign, you may find yourself in tough situations where your Grenadier misses their targets when attempting to shred, as it has to land to provide its effect. You may be better off just using heavy weapons and grenades to shred, while also destroying cover. And Shredder does not affect a unit if you use a weapon stock and miss. Demolition destroys cover that an enemy is behind, but it is not a guaranteed shot. Its accuracy is based on your Grenadier's accuracy plus 10%. So in order to get it to land 100% of the time, you would need your Grenadier's accuracy to be at least 90%. But it is a nice ability to help give your other units better shots at a single target. Suppression gives -50 aim to a single enemy unit. That's pretty good, if you know for certain that the enemy unit will fire and not move. Unfortunately, many enemies in XCOM2 have alternative attacks that are, in some situations, worse than their regular attacks. Mutons can grenade, as can Advent officers. Mechs have an area of effect cover-destroying attack that is a pain in the ass. Sectoids will just mind control you if they can't shoot you, so why bother? And many enemies also seem to just run through the suppression anyways. Mutons rarely seem to care that they are suppressed at all, and stun lancers will still rush you down even while suppressed. Heavy ordnance is very simple. It gives your right slot grenade a bonus use. Great if you're turning your Grenadier into a tanky explosives expert. Holo targeting gives all other XCOM soldiers plus 15 aim against a target, regardless of if you hit or miss. Volatile mix improves your grenades. Chain shot is pretty much just a worse version of rapid fire, as the second shot only fires if the first is a hit. Salvo lets you use a grenade or a heavy weapon as your first action without ending your turn. Great for destroying cover with one attack, then following it up with a shred or holo targeting with the other. Hail of Bullets is just a guaranteed hit, which is really good for guaranteeing that shredding and holo targeting are applied to a target. Saturation Fire is a really good attack to apply shredding and cover destruction to a group of enemies. It's basically just a reusable shredder cannon, which is a heavy weapon for the exosuit. Rupture is a guaranteed critical, but not a guaranteed hit. If it lands, it increases all your other soldiers' damage against the target by 3. So with all of these skills, what the heck are you supposed to take on a Grenadier? Explosives-focused Grenadiers are usually your starting shooters, using either grenades or the demolition ability to destroy cover so your other soldiers can get the kills. As such, it takes them longer than usual to level up, but they are insanely valuable in helping your squad eliminate groups of enemies more easily. Dealing mostly in grenades and exosuit heavy weapons, you will want to stick to the left-hand path almost exclusively. Demolition over suppression means that for single targets, or for targets that are in cover near anything explosive, you have a good chance of destroying the cover. And if demolition misses, you can always use a backup grenade on another soldier to guarantee the cover is destroyed. Heavy ordnance, volatile mix, and salvo are just no-brainers for an explosive-specific grenadier. Saturation fire is where things get interesting, though it will take an absurd amount of time until your grenadier reaches this point in the skill tree. Saturation fire is an AoE attack that destroys cover, but if you were to use it with the Shredder skill, then it would also apply shredding to all enemies that it hits as well. You just have to lose 1 point of armor from blast padding really, which is entirely doable. You can respec your soldiers in the advanced warfare school at any time, and by the late game, 1 point of armor on a tanky grenadier is not the most useful thing in the world. Then again, by that point in the game, you'll likely have multiple suits of exo armor available, so having a single reusable shredder cannon isn't all that important. In short, by the time you get saturation fire, you'll know what you want, and you can always respec your soldiers at any time, so don't stress out too much on skill decisions now. For a shooty grenadier, I would take the right hand tree almost exclusively, but I would possibly take volatile mix over chain shot. If it was rapid fire, it would be a no-brainer, but because the first shot has to land before the second shot can activate, it's only super useful in a few situations, such as when you are virtually point blank next to a mech or heavily armored unit. Suppression is also a bit of a toss-up skill, just because it doesn't seem as useful in XCOM 2 as it did in Enemy Within. There's not really a wrong build for grenadiers though. They are your opener shooters almost regardless of what path you prefer, thanks to cover destruction, shredding, and holo targeting. And if you don't like the skills you choose, just respec them. Psi operatives are trained in the Psi labs, and can gain skills while training, which is nice so that you don't just send in rookie Psi operatives while the rest of your squad are veterans. They can be incredibly powerful units, and can inflict debuffs to enemy units, mind control them, put an enemy in stasis for a turn, eliminating them from a fight, remotely detonate grenades that enemy soldiers are carrying, deal guaranteed psionic damage, rupture an enemy. Awesome chaos is how I would describe high-level Psi operatives, but getting them trained up takes a bit of time. I'll let you worry about how best to use Psi operatives on your own, but keep in mind that a squad without a Psi operative can be just as capable as one with. They are a bit of a luxury, requiring their own special facility in order to train up. Luckily, if you are so interested, you can unlock these capabilities just by researching the sectoid autopsy. And just a few pieces of general advice. When reinforcements arrive on a mission, do your best to set up Overwatch traps and use your Overwatches. Aid protocol threat assessment, Killzone, put a sword ranger right on top of the flare so that they get free sword attacks at the enemies. Specialists with the Guardian skill on Overwatch. Use what you got and try to put as much free damage out as you can during alien activity. The Doomsday counter can be reduced by launching successful missions against black sites, advent facilities, or by progressing the storyline. So get the Skulljack project going early on and follow the quest lines, so you can get some easy reductions to the Avatar project. If the only mission objective remaining for you is to kill all enemies, turrets don't count. So if you want their loot, kill them before finishing off the last pod of a mission. Also, if you are on a mission to destroy a transmitter, you can destroy the transmitter and immediately evac the mission. You don't need to kill all the enemies. It may say that the mission was a failure, but the only things you don't get from evacing early are corpse loot and a slight bit of experience. Even the director himself is pleased by the mission results if you evac after destroying the transmitter. After all, your objective was completed. You can create waypoints for your units to follow. Hold Control while right-clicking, and a waypoint will be created. When you right-click the final destination, your soldier will follow the path you've set for them. And that is all I have for now. Some basic advice and my thoughts on some of the items and skills in XCOM 2. If you'd like more specific advice or videos on XCOM, just ask. And thank you for watching.